Hey everyone, and welcome to the passenger seat. Here with your host, Joseph. Now I know what you're thinking. Where's Carlos? I know most of you are like,
Hold up.
don't worry, he's going to be on in a couple of minutes. We're doing something a little bit different today, which I'll talk about in just a moment. However, I want to take a moment of this video to talk about recent events. At the time of this recording, it's been about a day since the passing of Chadwick Boseman. For those of you who don't know who Chadwick Boseman was, he was an actor best known for his portrayal as Black Panther. He was also in other films. We wanted to take a moment of this video, one, to extend our sympathies to his family, and two, to say thank you. Thank you, Chadwick, for being a role model to so many people, and for always being a beacon of shining light in the darkest of times. I think we were all surprised to know what he was fighting against, and even so, he always gave the best of himself with a smile. So thank you. We'll never forget you. Rest in peace. And Wakanda forever. So moving on to what we're going to be doing. This segment today is going to be a little different. Carlos and I are both going to be talking about areas that we think we have a little more experience in, or expertise. In my case, it's going to be board games. In Carlos's case, it's going to be comics. So you might want to stick around for that one. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite board games, and that's DC Deck Building. So, DC Deck Building. It's a game by Cryptozoic Entertainment. It started in 2012. It's a tabletop game where you play as a superhero or a super villain in later expansions. And the whole point is to fend off supervillains in the case of the first base set, or superheroes in the later expansions. Everyone begins with a starter deck, and little by little, you use the currency of the game called power to buy cards and sort of recycle them into your deck to start building a deck of your very own. What's super cool about that is you're playing as a character. Each character has a bonus with certain cards or with certain playstyles, which makes for a very interesting gameplay. Basically, everyone has their starting deck. They add to it little by little, and using that character that they're playing with, they eventually make a deck that's synergistic, and that'll later help them to fight those superheroes or supervillains. The best way I can describe it is everyone starts out with vanilla. I have nothing against vanilla, but you want toppings. Toppings cost extra. So you use your power, or the currency of the game, to buy those extra toppings and mix it in with your vanilla. Maybe not the best analogy, and now I'm hungry. It's definitely a board game worth mentioning. I do recommend it to anyone who sort of wants to add a little variety into their game nights. So definitely check this out. Regular MSRP is about $40 for the base set. These are just expansions. And I believe Cryptozoic has a bunch of the DC deck building games on sale right now. Not a sponsor, just happen to have that knowledge. So go ahead and check them out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this segment. If you liked it and you'd like to see something similar, go ahead and comment down below. And that way we can keep giving you recommendations of things that we think that are super cool and we'd like to share with you. I hope you enjoyed this ride with me, and hopefully you'll join me next time here in the passenger seat.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Carlos here. I know you guys just enjoyed Joseph's last video over there about board games. That's his expertise. Comic books is my expertise. I would like to also say my condolences to the Chadwick family. I know they're probably going through a lot right now, but thank you so much for bringing us your husband, your child, to play Black Panther and to bring us that role, and many other roles that he's played. So my condolences. So I'm here to talk about a Marvel comic because, well, Black Panther is Marvel, so I thought I'd jump into it with a comic that came out in November of 1994. It is called Generation X. And I don't know if some of you out there read it, but it's a 90s comic for you 90s kids out there who've ever maybe seen a picture or actually read an issue when it was coming out. It lasted from 1994 to the cancellation in 2001. The creators, Scott and Chris, they left 1997 because I guess they were going a different direction than Marvel. But essentially, this comic here is about the mutants of the X-Men, but in a different way. So this takes place it takes place around Massachusetts.
Wait, what'd you say, Felix?
In a different academy, and it only features young mutants that are around the same time of Generation X, Gen X. So let's start off by mentioning the fact that the mentors of Generation X was Banshee, the man who can supersonic scream, if some of you know that one, and Emma Frost, the White Queen, who has telepathic abilities and also can turn her skin into diamond. So they started this group while the X-Men, the one that Professor Xavier had, went on bigger missions, and they were tasked to teach a smaller group of young mutants how to also become X-Men and defend the world someday. The group of young mutants that existed throughout Generation X in the beginning, from the first issue, was Jubilee, who had this explosive energy coming out of her fingers that sort of looked like fireworks for most of you who remember Jubilee from the animated TV series of X-Men. And we had Chamber right here. So the thing about Chamber is that he has explosive blasts coming out from his body, and when this mutation came about, he actually ripped apart his mouth and his chest, and he could only communicate telepathically. If you read later in the story, there's more that goes on with his power. There's another character called Skin. He has 6 feet of skin. He can stretch it out. But unlike Mr. Fantastic, his skin stays within his body. So at normal, when he's not stretching his skin, it just looks like baggy gray skin. And there's a character called Sync, much like Rogue. He can copy people's abilities and mutations and powers. But unlike Rogue, he doesn't need to touch them. He can be right there, right in front of you, maybe a foot or 2 feet, and he'll steal your ability without touching you. The other ones, we have Husk. She has the ability to shed her skin. By shedding her skin, she gets a new skin. It could be a new face, or it could be, if she would take damage, she can regenerate that way by peeling off her skin and having a new skin. Another character we have is called Mondo. So he has the ability, much like Husk, but in a different form, that anything he touches, his skin can turn into that material. So essentially metal, rock, stone, you name it, and he transforms into that material. In the first issue, we get introduced to a character called Penance. So there's 2 characters, Penance and M. M is very important. She has the ability to fly, super strength, a little bit of telepath. And Penance, they discover her in the beginning of the first issue. She has red skin. It's super tough, hard, and sharp claws for nails. It's like sort of like Deathstroke. So they find her in the first issue, and they're trying to figure out who she is. But she has a childlike innocence to her, and they can't really discover because she can't speak either. So she just relies on mimicking, pointing at things to talk. But later in the comic, you'll find out a big secret, a mysterious secret about her that I think you guys would enjoy if you decide to read it. They fight, in this whole beginning of the comic series, they'll fight an extraterrestrial being who's trying to take mutants' powers. But he starts out with Generation X to see if he can actually beat them. He absorbs abilities with his hands to then move on to the X-Men and gain even more power. But, I'm not going to spoil everything for you guys because I want you guys to read this comic, and that's why I recommend it. It's 90s. It gives you that old X-Men vibe. It's very teenager angst Breakfast Club type vibe, if you get what I mean. And I really think you guys would enjoy this comic. But any more questions you guys have about this comic, I'll feel free to answer. Just put it on the comments down below, or message us through Instagram or TikTok even if you want to. And we can talk more about this, and maybe if you guys like hearing more about comics, I got more obscure comics that I can actually present in the show. comics that maybe you guys haven't even heard about, or you guys put comments that you want me to talk about. So thank you for taking this ride with me. I'm Carlos, here on the passenger seat.